A very good afternoon to all our viewers. I'm Tilini from Dominate Law. Welcome to the first education on air for lawyers and attorneys. I am here today with Mr. Naren Arulrajah, CEO of Dominate Law, a division of Equum Marketing known internationally for innovative ideas and implementation that helps law firms dominate their respective areas. Today, he is presenting 8 steps in internet marketing for lawyers and attorneys. If you have any questions or feedback, feel free to post it on our Q&A section just by pressing the Q&A bubble, which is on the left-hand side of your screen or even at the bottom of your screen. And Naren will address all these questions after his presentation. Hi, Naren, and welcome. Naren, could you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and about Equum Marketing?
Absolutely. Thank you, Tilini, for the opportunity and taking the time to do this with me today. My name is Naren. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started Equa.com, which is a marketing firm, back in 2007. We are very proud to have around 200 clients. And one of the things we really focus on is our ability to keep them year after year after year. And so far, we have been able to maintain close to 90% retention year after year. And in the internet marketing space, this is unheard of because to really succeed in internet marketing, you need a large team and you need to dedicate hours on a weekly, monthly basis. If you don't do that, the results won't show up. And we are one of the rare firms that was able to figure this out and also at the same time make things affordable. So we put in anywhere from 35 hours a month up to 200 hours a month, and we really manage our costs by having a model where people can work from home. We're proud of our accomplishment. We currently have 150 staff, and I'm really proud of the fact that 90% of our clients stay with us. Today I'm going to talk about internet marketing. Actually, it's a series of webinars. This is the first one in the series. And it's really for anybody who understands that the world is changing and internet is a game changer when it comes to helping people choose you versus your competition. So I wrote a book called 8 Steps Every Lawyer Should Take to Dominate Their Market Online. If you don't have a copy of that book, you can contact me or my team and we will send you a copy. So today's presentation is the first in a series of four to five different presentations. And today we're going to talk about a fundamental paradigm shift, and it's called zero moment of truth. So I'm going to introduce that concept. I'm also going to talk about at a high level how you should think about internet marketing. Also, I'm going to kind of help people change their paradigm from, marketing is about interrupting people and getting them to buy from us, to marketing is about helping people buy from us, helping them say yes. So it's not about interrupting and preaching to them. It's really about kind of becoming part of their lives and their decision-making process. So how do you rethink your paradigm? How do you really embrace the new paradigm so you can leverage everything that internet can do for you? So that's really what we're going to talk about today. So the first question I get asked a lot is, why is internet marketing important? Historically we have been a group that got most of our business through relationships, through networking, through people we know in the community. Now, why should we care about internet marketing? Why not just... I think there's a lot of fundamental reasons why the world has changed. I think the most important reason is, I think like most of us, 90% of Americans carry a smartphone in their pockets, and it only started in 2007 with the introduction of the iPhone. Till then, phone was nothing more than a communication device. Now, for most Americans, the phone is a rich tool that helps them lead better lives. So, for example, stats show that people use Google 6 billion with a B times a day. So what do they do with Google 6 billion times a day? They pretty much consult Google or similar services for everything they're doing throughout the day, whether it's asking for directions, whether it's waking them up, whether it's reminding them that they have to leave right now for an appointment coming up, or more day-to-day activities like I need to go and have lunch, and what's some place that I haven't tried before, so I can use my smart device, my smartphone, to kind of quickly, in a matter of seconds, do a bit of research and check out something that I might be interested in. So the phone has gone from being a communication device for almost like an assistant for most people. So as the assistant gives us information that influences our day-to-day activities in our lives. That's perhaps why Google is worth more than all the other media companies in the world combined, because they have that much influence in our day-to-day lives and the decisions we make. So if we accept that the internet is a game changer, I talk to a lot of lawyers, so I keep hearing the same thing again and again, that business is down, business is tough. On one hand, there are so many companies at the low end that will do a wills for $100, and they are trying to commoditize law, right? And on the other hand, you have larger companies that either build their own team because they feel it's more cost effective, or they offshore a lot of their day-to-day low-end work. So I think any knowledge business, including law, where you are really selling your expertise and your wisdom and your knowledge of the law, is going to get squeezed in this world of hyper competition. So the question is, how can you, as a small lawyer or owner of a practice with several lawyers, can think about the internet, can leverage it to help grow your business, as opposed to get beaten up by the competition. So in my book, I talked about some of the fundamentals, and I'm going to get into this through this presentation as well as the subsequent presentations. So the very first thing I talked about in my book, in my 8 steps to dominate internet marketing, is the importance of a website. And the reason I talked about this is that, think about it, unlike the old days, where the only way people could really get to know your business is by walking into your office, now most people are much more comfortable checking you out at their convenience. Could be there in a coffee shop and they have some time to kill. Or maybe it's evening and they're going through a messy divorce and they're looking at which attorney to hire, so they have some time to kill to kind of research different attorneys and really do some research on who might be right for them. So a powerful website that's optimized for mobile devices, that's compelling, that really tells a simple yet consistent story, should be at the heart of everything. And because, Google and other players also recognize this, so obviously the stronger your website, meaning from an SEO standpoint, and we'll get into what that means, the more traffic you're going to get to your website. So website itself is not just a tool for people to look at, but it's also the core of everything else you do to drive traffic to it. So SEO, search engine optimization, is all about how do you show up when people do research. So let's say I'm looking for a family law attorney or somebody who's an expert in child custody, and I'm doing research. I'm typing in child custody either with my city name or without my city name. Are you the one who's showing up at the top, or is it somebody else? So SEO is all about you showing up versus your competition, and we'll talk about how that's done as we get into these presentations. Social media, I don't think people go to Facebook to figure out which lawyer to hire. However, social media has become the modern way of keeping in touch with people. In the old days, I used to get birthday cards. I used to get phone calls on my birthdays. Now, I might get somebody wishing me on Facebook, and when one person wishes me on Facebook, all my other friends see it and they all wish me. So I think we have become kind of a lazy society where a tool like Facebook has become how we keep in touch with people. It's convenient, it stays with us throughout the day on our mobile devices as well as on our computers, and we don't have to talk to one person at a time. We can talk to all of our friends all the time. So given that, I think attorneys need to understand that, and attorneys need to, it's almost like if you are the only person in the world who doesn't have a phone, you're going to miss out a lot. People can't call you, they can't cancel appointments, they can't make appointments, they can't ask questions. So you're going to be at a disadvantage. I think social media has become that medium on how people keep in touch. So I do believe that you have to have a presence, and you have to stay in front of people so they don't forget you. You don't kind of become out of sight, out of mind. The fourth thing that I talk about in my book, and again we'll get into a lot more details, is reviews and ratings. So reviews and ratings, in my opinion, are really important because 9 out of 10 consumers look at reviews before they make a business decision. And remember, consumers are the same people who also work for businesses and who own businesses. So they don't change how they think about things, regardless of whether they're trying to find somebody for their business or whether they're trying to find somebody for their personal needs. So there are several profile sites, and we'll talk about the top 4 and how you can work with them, how you can get the most out of them without paying advertising fees. So reviews and ratings are important, given that 9 out of 10 people will look at it before they make a decision. Your brand. Now, online reputation, I think, is supported by reviews and ratings, but it's not only reviews and ratings. Same thing with brand, right? To me, branding and online reputation is about what makes you different. Why do people keep coming back to you, especially your loyal clients? Once you can crystallize that, once you can articulate that in 2 or 3 sentences, to me, brand and online reputation is about living it, about making sure that story is told consistently across everything you do. Your website, your brochures, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, everything should tell the same consistent, simple story as to why people keep coming back to you and what makes you unique. So thinking about brands, communicating it, these are things I'll get into in one of my subsequent presentations. We already touched on social media and also how important engagement is. Engagement means that when you do something on Facebook, Facebook will either show that to your friends or not. Facebook will show more of what you do to your friends if your friend seems to care about it. So type of post that's all about me, come and see me, I'm great, nobody would care, right? So eventually Facebook will realize that nobody is reading your stuff and stop showing it. So if you want Facebook to show your stuff and you want people to respond to it, you need to make it about them. So we find infographics. So we have graphic designers, for example, in our team, and we use them effectively to create compelling infographics that are educational in nature. Fresh content, right? See, remember, you're not alone in this world. There are hundreds of others who want the exact same thing you want. But Google only has 5 spots on a small iPhone screen and 10 spots typically on a computer screen. So how do you make sure you keep showing up? And we'll get into it more, and content plays a key role in that. So fresh content, both as a way to engage your users as well as a way to improve your SEO, has to become part of your overall marketing strategy. Finally, I think we all accept that Google is the king of the castle when it comes to online marketing, especially for small businesses. So listening to Google, you also need to pay attention to other players like Apple and Facebook, but not as much as Google. So really listening to Google and figuring out how to evolve your strategies as the world changes, as Google and other big players change the world. So we, for example, have a team dedicated just to keeping in top of how things are changing. Because remember, these are all typically people with degrees in computer science, and we tend to hire a lot of those people as well. So they are really thinking like engineers think. So they're thinking very technical. So really being able to see what they're saying and what they're thinking from a technical standpoint, and then leverage their thoughts to help you further your marketing, I think is key. Today I'm going to really focus on a big idea, and that idea I think is a game changer, and it really only became real only after the internet, and it's called zero moment of truth. Let me kind of talk about this in a nutshell. So fundamentally, at a highest level, this idea means that the days of selling doesn't work anymore. People buy, right? So let me kind of clarify what I mean by that. So let me talk about the traditional model, right? So Yellow Pages. Yellow Pages is one of the popular things that people used to use a lot, especially attorneys. So you put a big ad, typically the biggest, right? And usually what happens is, in the old days, people didn't have any information, so they would, go to their pages, flip the pages, see the big ad, and, they'll read a bunch of stuff on the ad, and they'll call the first guy on the list, and then, maybe the second and so forth, right? So in the old days, the way people looked at marketing is at any given time, 3 out of 100 will have a need for your service. Ballpark, but it's true. So by putting an ad on Yellow Pages or buying a big billboard, you are saying, I'm going to target those 3 out of 100. I don't know which 3 those are, but I'm just going to go after the masses and I'm going to, get them to see me, those 3 out of 100. Now, once they see the ad, the 3 out of 100, somebody will call you, and so for example, in this graphic, it talks about the first moment of truth. So here it says typically it's the shelf. So if you have truth, the first interaction the customer has with your brand is at the shelf. In your case, it's probably the phone, the person who's answering the phone. So that's the first moment of truth. So the traditional marketers, really focused on the first moment of truth. And then they talk to the person answering the phone, and then they say, yeah, I want to, come and see you and maybe hire you and so forth. So the second moment of truth is the experience. So in the old days, I think they had a term for this. They called it the TV industrial complex. So big companies, like for example, Tide spent millions, if not hundreds of millions. Tide is owned by Procter & Gamble, on advertising, and that advertising drove a lot of people, the 3 out of 100, because they would spend money throughout the year. At any given time, 3 out of 100 people are thinking about detergents or getting a new detergent, so they would, choose Tide, or in your case, a new law firm. And then they also focused on, so the first thing they focused on is the mass market media, so they had big budgets, hundreds of thousands of dollars, a month, sometimes even millions of dollars, depending on the company. And then they also focused on the first moment of truth, which is the person answering the phone, and then they focused on the experience. Once they come in, how are they dealt with, and it's a good experience and so forth. But internet fundamentally changed that, right? So instead of things being Yellow Pages and direct, flyers and billboards and things like that, internet fundamentally said, when people do research, you should show up. Because think about it, when I get into an accident and I'm really looking to find somebody, who I could hire, that's when you need to show up. So I start researching, let's say, personal injury or, big accident, big truck accident, depending on the kind of accident I've had or my family has had. So when I start doing research, you need to show up. So I think when people are using Google approximately 6 billion times a day, and they're using it, let's say, for research, you need to show up not just for one search term or two, but hundreds, right? And you need to show up again and again on the computer, on a mobile device, on tablets and so forth. And also studies are showing that because there's so much of information, people look at approximately 15 pieces of information before making a purchase decision, before deciding to, go and, see an attorney and possibly hire them. So those 15 pieces of information could be, when I'm doing research, what shows up for different keywords, could be your reviews, could be what's on your website, could be what other people have to say, whether it's on your website or outside, like, reviews and testimonials and so forth. I know there are certain rules that are governed by, or, mandated by law society, so obviously whatever you do has to comply with your local rules. So I guess, like I was going back to, in the old days, marketing was about selling. It's about interrupting people, or mass marketing with a big Yellow Page ad or a big billboard. And if you interrupt enough people, or if you mass market, that reaches enough people, you did okay. But in the world where people are buying when they need something, remember, we live in the TiVo world where nobody even watches ads anymore because they can TiVo it, or they can just watch it on Netflix, which doesn't have any ads, right? So we live in a very different world. It's all about, me and my choice and what I want, as opposed to you, the marketer, trying to interrupt me, right? So in that world, anytime people need something, they'll start researching, and that's when you need to show up. So, you can buy ads, but ad is an ad is an ad. So I would really recommend showing up organically, meaning through SEO and so forth. So let's talk about what is zero moment of truth. So zero moment of truth is all those moments. Remember I said people are researching 15 pieces of information before they decide to pick up the phone. So whether it's reviews, or whether it's your website, or whether it's you showing up for keywords, all of that is called the zero moment of truth, right? So, what marketing is about is zooming in on that zero moment of truth and helping people choose you, helping people buy from you. Whether it's you understanding your brand and making sure you're communicating it consistently, whether it's you focusing on your reputation and your reviews, whether it's you showing up for different keywords and different types of questions people might have. Let's say a family, somebody who's going through a messy divorce might be looking for information about child custody, might be interested in alimony, all kinds of things, right? So if you're a attorney and you're targeting all those types of customers, you need to make sure you're the one they see when they start doing research. We kind of touched on it, and we have an entire presentation dedicated to it called search engine optimization. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Role of reviews, again, we have a dedicated presentation on this, but at a high level, what I would mention is it's two parts. One is the technical part, and one is the review part. The technical part is there's something called NAP. It stands for name, address, phone number. If your name, address, and phone number is not consistent across all your profiles, you're going to get dinged by people like Google. You're not going to get as much traffic. So it's very important to have either person in your team who understands all these different sites, at a technical level, and who's able to monitor them and deal with issues. Like, for example, many of these sites are notorious in creating duplicate listings, notorious in losing your reviews, notorious in splitting reviews. So if you have somebody who's technical, you need to make sure that person is focused on taking care of the technical side of things, making sure you optimize, making sure your NAP is consistently managed, making sure that anytime there are negative reviews, those are handled with and dealt with, making sure that you have a strategy to get your happy customers to share their positive experiences. And I know depending on the type of law you practice, there might be some restrictions. I'm just giving you some high-level pointers. Mobile, we talked about this, right? Half the people now use computers from their mobile devices, and I think it's shifting more and more, so I wouldn't be surprised if that number grows into 60 to 70%. So as people start carrying very powerful computers in their pocket, which used to be called a phone, but now it's a smart device, you need to make sure your website is compelling on a small screen as well as on a big site. Right? And I see so many attorney sites that are so hard to read on a small screen. Like, pick up an iPhone and look at your website. Is it easy to read? Does it give you the information that's the most important, first, so you don't have to go hunt for that, right? So those are things you need to pay attention to because, the world is mobile. Social media, we kind of touched on it, the big ones being YouTube. YouTube is a great way to share your thoughts and your wisdom. So let's say you are an expert in a topic, we can easily do YouTube videos and put it online and optimize it. So YouTube is a very powerful tool to educate the customers and position yourself as an expert. Facebook, we talked about it, that has become the modern phone. So, kind of making sure you are staying in touch with people. And again, it will change from the type of law practice you have, because some practices, let's say you are a corporate attorney that does mergers and acquisitions. Doing Facebook posts may not make any sense because most of your customers are not going to be talking about the private mergers and acquisitions they're working on or their thoughts on their Facebook page. So obviously, you have to customize your plan depending on your business. LinkedIn is also very popular, especially for those interested in small business clients, because many of the small business owners are on LinkedIn. And again, we'll get into a lot more details and the do's and don'ts and hows when I talk about the social media in one of my upcoming presentations. Automated marketing, I'm sure you've heard of this word, and fundamentally what it means is that marketing is about customer acquisition. Meaning, how do you get somebody who has never heard of you all the way to the point where now they're a happy customer and they're referring friends? And thanks to technology, a lot of this can be automated. A lot of this can be done using computers. So, for example, if somebody is interested in, custody, talking to them about prenup may annoy them, right? Because they're not at that stage. So they're in a different stage in their life. So kind of customizing your communication using automated marketing, I think, is very powerful, because you don't want to lose touch with them. So even if they're not going to hire you today, just staying in touch with them, building a relationship using automated marketing tools is very important. And we'll get into that in one of my subsequent presentations. There are so many pieces to this, analytics and lead capture, lead scoring, list management, lead nurturing, CRM integration, so forth. Now, we talked about content being at the heart of everything, right? Think about it for a second. Let's say you wrote a paper about a particular topic. In the old days, the only thing you can do is, make printouts and hand it to people or send it to people in an e-newsletter. Right now, you can put it on your website. You can send it out to your newsletter list. You could link to it from your Facebook. There's so much you can do with a single piece of content. And that's the beauty of the world we live in. So you can get a lot of mileage out of what you're doing. And in our case, we do a lot of these things on behalf of our clients. So our clients don't even have to spend a lot of time, creating content. Analytics is extremely powerful, right? Because it tells you exactly what each person is doing, right? So, for example, we used to get a lot of visitors for one of our businesses, and we were so happy and excited and stuff. But when we didn't see results, we started digging deep, and we noticed many of the people who are coming are not even coming from the right location. So we're wasting a lot of time and money attracting people who will never ever do business with us. So that was very insightful, right? Another example is, we were trying out a new offer, and we sent it to 100 people, and only, I think, 8 people, bought on. So we were disheartened, and we thought, maybe our idea was bad or offer was bad. But then we started looking under the covers, and we noticed only 16 people actually read our email or read our message, and we could track that through analytics, right? Google Analytics. So our problem was not that our offer was bad. Our problem was that we couldn't get people to, see our offer, see what we were saying. So we were able to really, really zoom in and say, okay, using Google Analytics, here is where the problem is. Let's fix it. Now, most attorneys, just like most doctors and most other types of professionals, are busy being who they are. So one of the things that we do is, we become their marketing expert. We become their chief marketing officer, and we kind of do the analysis on their behalf, and we come up with recommendations and solutions to deal with these issues. Just like a business needs a business plan, it needs a marketing plan, and somebody has to work on it, right? Somebody has to connect the dots. Somebody has to look at these numbers. And because we specialize, only with doctors and attorneys, we are able to do an excellent job in taking care of these types of things. So we already touched on it, so I'm going to re-emphasize it, right? Internet marketing is not about selling. It's about helping your market buy. It's about using reviews. It's about using your brand in a consistent way. It's about showing up in search engines when people are doing research. It's about telling a compelling story through your website. So that's the way you should look at it, right? So what are the upcoming presentations? The next one is going to be on local search. It's going to be totally dedicated to search engine optimization and Google Places. I know clients who get 50, 100, even 1,000 calls a month. And most of those calls come from effective search engine optimization and Google Places. So we'll talk very specifically around, what are the do's, the don'ts, how do you think about it, where do you focus, what has happened over the last little while. As you know, Google changes its algorithms. So we'll go in real depth about, things you need to know to really, master local search and SEO. The one after that is going to be called branding, discovering, communicating, and living your brand. Now, I see this a lot. Like I ask, attorneys that I talk to, tell me, if I were to talk to 5 of your best clients, why they tell their friends about you, what would they say? and most of them cannot give me a consistent answer. And a lot of times I would even interview the clients, and I would find out what the clients are saying is very different from what the attorney is saying. So there's a disconnect. So if you don't understand your brand, how can you live it? How can you communicate it? And if you're not clear on it, and if you're not consistent with it, how do you expect your customers to, get it and tell their friends about it, right? So it's really important. It's not that hard. I mean, a lot of times your customers know your brand, your loyal customers, more than you do, because that's why they keep coming back to you. So what are the 2 or 3 things that makes you unique? What are the 2 or 3 things that attracts your ideal customers to you? So how do we communicate it? How do we tell that story? We can use your website, we can use videos, we can use, all kinds of tools in telling that story, right? Even reviews could highlight some of those points, because, that's your story, right? So discovering your brand, communicating your brand, living your brand, right? Let me tell you why living is important. So say you walk into this awesome barber shop, and, this barber you've been seeing for the last 20 years, he always gives you maybe he has a drink for you so you can kind of relax, and he's always, you make appointment and he's always on time and he's totally focused on you, and he's not answering his phone in the middle of this and whatnot. Right now, 6 months later, you go back and let's say he's sick and somebody else is there. Now this somebody else doesn't do any of the things that the barber that you depend on does, right? So he doesn't massage you as soon as you sit in the chair. He doesn't give you a drink. He doesn't focus on you. He's answering the phone and he's distracted and he's yelling at somebody and all that stuff. If that keeps happening a second time, a third time, and a fourth time, depending on your level of patience, you will stop going to that barbershop. Why? Because the experience, the reason why you went there is no longer true. So, like most people with intelligence, you're not going to keep going back, and now you're going to badmouth that barbershop. So, 3 other same place, maybe they haven't been there for a while because, let's say they're out of town. The next time you're talking to them, somehow this comes up, and you're going to say, I don't go there anymore, and this is why, right? So the fact that you're not living your brand in a consistent way can really hurt you, right? Remember, brand doesn't have to be about Ritz-Carlton type experience. McDonald's has a brand too, right? So people who appreciate stands for, like, cleanliness and fast service and, low prices will patronize McDonald's regardless of where they are, whether it's Spain or whether it's, Chicago's, right? So if you appreciate those things at that moment, you're going to go to that brand at that moment. So this is a really important topic, and we'll get into this. Reputation management and social media. So I've merged the two, and that will be, the third presentation I'll do. Actually, the fourth, because this is the first. During that presentation, we're going to talk about, the do's and the don'ts, both the technical side as well as the, we're going to talk about best practices, when it comes to LinkedIn and Facebook and, and so forth, and depending on your type of practice. The last one is going to be focused around connecting the dots, right? So that's about analytics, that's about automated marketing, and that's about content marketing. So how do you use automated marketing tools to, nurture your prospective clients and existing clients? How do you connect the dots? How do you look at this data from Google Analytics? Remember, even when you hire a firm, it's nice for you to understand the fundamentals so you can have intelligent conversations. You can be engaged in a productive way. How do you look at the call tracking report? So one of the things we insist is, kind of listening to your calls, looking at it both from a, what's working for me, what's not standpoint. Many attorneys I talk to have no idea. They might be spending even as much as $10,000, $12,000 on marketing, but if I ask them a question, tell me what's working for you, what's the cost of your lead, they're clueless because they don't track it, they don't know how to analyze it. So we'll get into those details. And, so this is something we really believe in. So all these things I'm talking about is something that we kind of incorporate when we, approach marketing. So I guess I can go to questions and answers. And one of the things I get asked all the time is that, can you study my marketing and give me your take on where do I stand compared to my competition? What we should focus on. Where can we be in 6 months, in 12 months? So we have a special offer where we do a thorough study and do a one-on-one web presentation based on that study, where we develop a marketing report card and kind of walk you through what we found and what we think you should do. So almost like, think of it like a mini marketing plan, like a 12 months to 18 month marketing plan. So this way you know what needs to be done, and you know what to expect. So there's no surprises, right? So so it's a $500 value we're offering for free for anybody who attended this webinar or who listened to this webinar. So if you are interested, you can always take advantage of it by just emailing me or calling me, and I'm going to go to questions and answers. Vinny,
Yes.
Do you have
Thank you, Naren. Yes, thank you, Naren. I will give you the questions. Thank you for educating on all that information, and we will continue with our discussion segment. And let me give you the first question. If you have a small budget, what are one or two major things you can do with a little money to enhance your presence and impact on the web?
Absolutely. So I'm going to give you kind of, from a priority standpoint, right? I think the very first thing you could do, which doesn't cost you any money, is thinking about your brand. So typically it's very simple. Take your best clients, the ones who have been coming to you for a long time, and also, ask some young clients and older clients. So get a full mix of clients, maybe pick 20, and ask them a simple question. Why do you keep coming back to me? Right? And a lot of times they will all tell you very similar things, or they will say, oh, you listen, or they will say, you are somebody I can get a hold of when I have a need, right? Or they will say that you know a lot of people and you can connect me to the right people, and that's really, really important to me. Whatever they say, that's what makes you tick, right? So first of all, that doesn't cost you a dime. It just takes a bit of time to do that survey and find out what people are saying, right? And then you have a choice. If you feel like the brand you currently have is not what you want, then you can figure out how do you change it. What do you need to do to change it, right? How do you change your actions? How do you live things differently? On the other hand, if it is working for you and if it's your strength, keep it. Now the next question is, how do you communicate it? So really figuring out, how do you articulate it? Think about an elevator pitch. How would you talk about your brand? Why people come back to you, right? That's really your brand. How would you say that in 30 seconds? How could you say that, in documents? How could you tell that story with the help of others? How could, like, even your media appearances, even your involvement in the communities, they all should kind of go back to that brand, right? So to me, it will take time, but it won't cost you a lot of money. And the reason I'm saying this is because you can't please everybody. So you need to understand what makes you tick and who your ideal customer is, and then consciously focus on living it and communicating it. The next thing I would focus on is reputation, and sometimes you may not never even paid attention to it. You may not even know what other people think of you. And I think 9 out of 10 people do look at reviews and do look at these third-party sites to make up their mind. So I think again, it doesn't take a lot of money. Obviously it'll take time because somebody has to monitor it, somebody has to know where you stand, figure out where you need to get to, and then work on it, right? So to me, that again is something anybody can do if they have a lot of time, but not a lot of money. And finally, I think it's about showing up, right? It's about showing up when people do research, not once or twice, but hundreds of times. In some cases, like I was alluding to before, some of our clients get, hundreds of calls, even more than 1,000 sometimes. And it's all because they are dominant when it comes to search engine optimization. But I'm not sure if you can do this on your own. The reason is it's hyper competitive, right? Because everybody has gotten the memo that internet marketing is where it's at, and so everybody wants the same thing, and there's only a few spots. So depending on your city, depending on location, you might be able to do a few things without any help. But I would think you need. I mean, ideally, the way I look at it is that marketing is something. If you have the right partner, it should make you 5 to 10 times what you're spending, right? Because if it's not, then you don't have the right partner. So I really think the way you should look at marketing is, yes, it's an investment for the very first time because you are trying something new. But once you have tried it and it's working for you, then it shouldn't cost you a dime, because the $10 that it makes, you should pay the dollar that it's going to cost you, right? So I think that's the way to look at marketing, right? Because we all can't be the best in the world at 100 different things. So finding the right partner, making sure that they are paying for themselves at least 10 times over, I think those are key.
Okay, let's move on with the second question. How much time should we spend on social media per day?
Yeah, it's a very generic question, and it's hard for me to answer. Like I said, it all depends on the type of practice you have and the location you are in and so forth. But in a general rule, I think keeping in touch with existing clients is important. So at least send them something once a month, whether it's through the newsletter or through the social media, right? Something for them to read. And it will be better if it's easy, because most people don't have a lot of time. So infographic, that's a picture with diagrams and words, I think would work the best, as opposed to a long article that most people won't have the time to get to, right? And then using things like newsletters and traditional social media, either Facebook or LinkedIn, depending on your demographic, I think it all makes sense. But like I said, Facebook is not going to make you rich. So if you're expecting Facebook to get you 5 new clients, you're wasting your time. But if you're expecting social media, Facebook newsletters to just keep in touch with your customers and build a stronger relationship, so anytime they know somebody who needs something, they think of you, then yeah, it makes sense. So I wouldn't spend too much time on it, given that it's not going to significantly increase your business in the short term, but I would spend enough time so that you stay in touch with people so they don't forget you.
Okay, let's move on to the third question. What is the best keywords for which you want to rank?
That's an excellent question. I think the best answer to that is you need to really become familiar with Google Analytics, because Google Analytics will tell you, what's working for you and what's not, what keywords are driving you traffic, what keywords you may want to consider, how many people are looking for it, what's your rank for those keywords. And what I'm noticing, having done this for more than 10 years now, is changes, right? So what's a great answer today may not be a great answer tomorrow. And also most attorneys that I work with, they all have slightly different practices. Some do a little bit of everything, some only do 1 or 2 things. So their market is different, their location is different. So it's very hard for me to give you a direct answer other than to say, use a tool like Google Analytics or work with your marketing firm to really have that dialogue, not just once, but on an ongoing basis by looking at data. It'll tell you what people are typing in, what your rank is, and how many people are typing different keywords in. And then also look at what they're doing once they come through those keywords. Are they doing anything? Are they leaving your site? Because this will start telling you what's working, what's not. If you're not an expert in marketing, work with somebody who understands this and who does it on behalf of you. Next question, Tilini.
Is it possible to take advantage of internet marketing when you remain quite a computer dinosaur?
Absolutely. I mean, I hire lawyers for my business. Obviously, I don't understand law, and I don't think I even would enjoy or like law just because it's not my cup of tea. But if I have the right partner, I really can, make the most out of law to help my business, right? Same thing with internet marketing. I do think if you take the time to find the right partner to work with, who you're comfortable with, who you have confidence in terms of understanding marketing and how to make it work for you, then absolutely you can take advantage. I mean, I have examples, like for example, I have clients who have grown their businesses by $2 to $3 million a year, and they are not marketing experts, but they understand how to be successful, right? And a lot of people who know how to be successful know that it's important to find the right partner to work with, and then work effectively with them, listening when you have to listen, and delegating when you have to delegate, right? So absolutely, I think you don't have to understand internet marketing. You don't need to have a degree in computer science for you to get value from it. Most of my clients, I would say, do not understand computers. However, they get a ton of value because they took the time to research, understand us, and work effectively with us. So whoever you find that comfort with, whoever you trust, but the key is you really need to do your research. You can't just take things at face value because nobody's going to say I'm not good, right? So you need to think things through. You need to ask tough questions, find the right person to work with.
Okay, let's move on to the last question that we have received today.
Yes.
Where should a new law firm start up as far as an online presence?
Yeah, I think start with your brand. What are the 2 or 3 things that's going to make you tick, right? Just using Apple as an example, it's beautifully designed products that are easy to use. Doesn't matter what product they come up with, those 2 attributes never change. So what is it that makes you tick? What is it that will never change for you? And then figure out how to communicate it and how to live it, right? So I think that's, to me, the basics. And then it's like peeling onions. So every day, every month, you are telling that story in a more compelling way. You are living it in a more compelling way. And then I would get to, finally a CEO and helping people find you, right? So that, I think, completes the cycle. So that's kind of how I would look at it if it was my business.
Thank you, Naren. Thank you for your time spent with us. And we will have to say goodbye to you. And thank you to all our viewers for spending this time with us. And as Naren said, this video will be shared with you, so you can share it with your friends as well. And next webinar is on local search engine optimization, and Google Places. I hope you have a very good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Telini. Thank you. Bye.